cop who decides to shoot someone over a traffic stop. Well, that cop has been indicted. Put up the picture, full mask. I'm going to give you a hell of a story. Ex-Woodstock, Georgia police officer. His name is Grant Matthew. Grant Matthew Shaw surrendered himself to authorities. This happened April 22nd. He's now facing charges for the fatal shooting of a 20-year-old named Emmanuel Millard. A grand jury has now indicted Officer Shaw earlier this month on involuntary manslaughter. This is a charge for the killing that occurred after an October 12th, 2023 police chase in Cherokee County. Shaw is being held at the Cobb County Jail without bond. With millions watching and many people benefiting from this program called Indisputable, we just need 1% of the viewers to become a paid member so we can continue to bring this content to you. Now back to the show. That night, police tried to pull over Mr. Millard. This was over a traffic offense in Woodstock, but Miller fled, which started a pursuit. Officers had to use what's called a pit maneuver, pursuit intervention technique, to stop him, which caused his car to crash 5 miles away in Cobb County. As officers attempted to remove Mr. Millard from the car to arrest him, Officer Shaw decided it was time to shoot him in the head. Okay? Mr. Millard was taken to a local hospital in critical condition where he died 2 days later. The indictment states that, quote, while in the commission of reckless conduct, an unlawful act, Shaw caused the man's death without any intention to do so by pointing a Glock Model 34 9mm firearm at Emmanuel Malik Millard while his finger was on the trigger, thereby endangering his bodily safety. Now, I will say this because I'm sure you're thinking what I was thinking when I first saw the report. How do you mistakenly shoot someone in the head? I don't know. The individual was obviously, the cop was obviously acting reckless. Yes, I agree with that part. But he not only had his finger on the trigger, he pulled the trigger. And the narrative now is he didn't know his finger was on the trigger. Why is your finger on the trigger? And you're a trained police officer. You're not a guy that just picked up a gun and don't know the difference. You actually have weapons training. You should have a higher standard of responsibility to the reality of your actions rather than a lower one. But once again, seemingly the fix may be in. Put him up full mask. The family's attorney, this is Andrew Lambre, viewed the unreleased body cam footage of the incident. Lambre told WSB-TV News, Millard showed him his hands. So the young man's hands were up. He was fully compliant, meaning there was no threat to the officer or officers on the scene, evidenced by the fact that no other cop decided to shoot, by the way, and told him to get out of the car, and he went to get out of the car. And that, according to the attorney, is when Officer Shaw shot him in the head. Traffic stops, according to the attorney, are not supposed to end in the death of the person who was stopped, especially when they present no danger to themselves or anyone else. Atlanta Black Star reports a week after the shooting, Shaw did resign from the Woodstock Police Department, where he had worked since 2021. The GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigation, conducted an independent investigation into the shooting and released its findings to the Cobb County DA's office, who presented it to the grand jury. Now, there are some who are speculating as to why the GBI did not call for indictment, et cetera. Well, the GBI does not do that in the state of Georgia. Unfortunately, they simply provide the investigation and they will provide a report to the local district attorney for prosecution or no prosecution. Quote, I see him. I hear his voice. It has been tremendously hard, said Millard's mother, Lynette Millard. She told WSB-TV, quote, I just want him to get the full extended punishment. You destroyed a family. You took a life that was supposed to live for years. She also said of Shaw, we know he's guilty. Joseph Francis III, Millard's father, added. The city of Woodstock released this statement after the charges were announced. Quote, the Cobb County District Attorney's Office conducted an investigation into the death of Emmanuel Millard. And the city of Woodstock fully cooperated with the district attorney's office during its investigation. The city of Woodstock respects the judicial process and the work of the Cobb County District Attorney's Office and grand jury in the Emmanuel Millard case. The city will await the outcome of the trial before issuing any further comment. The best source of information regarding the criminal investigation and the grand jury process is the Cobb County District Attorney. Now, Wosny, you and I both know the Cobb County DA's office, they're not talking about the grand jury presentation because it's top secret. And you cannot legally get your hands on what was said. And if you are a member of the grand jury, you cannot legally talk about what was done inside of that private room. But I do find it ironic and somewhat infuriating that we don't have a charge more than involuntary manslaughter, because that would mean that everything that happened was basically an accident. It was a mistake. It was a, hey man, my bad. And I don't see accident or mistake written on any of this. This individual was a trained police officer with weapons training, and he decided to engage in such a manner that cost the life of another individual. What say you?
Well, I want to defer to you because I think folks need to understand, because this is your backyard, Dr. Richey. Cobb County in relation to the other counties in the area. Can you give the people a little bit of background as to the significance of Cobb County in the prosecution here?
Definitely. So Cobb County, years ago, I wouldn't go to Cobb County. Cobb County has such a bad reputation back then. COBB, we said it stood for caught out being black and count on being busted, okay? Fast forward to a couple of years ago. County Commissioner, Miss Cupid, black woman elected to the county commission. She's in law school at the time, okay? She's going to her study because she had a place where she would go and do her law school studies. As she's traveling to her study, she gets pulled over by a Cobb County cop. The Cobb County cop, according to her, proceeded to harass her. And it took years, damn near 2 years, for that Cobb County cop to no longer be a cop there, even though she was a sitting county commissioner who had credible evidence that this individual did, in fact, target and harass her. Now, you do have more progressives in Cobb County now than you did before. They are absolutely not the same old Cobb County, but you do have some of that same semblance in the county. So I think that's a great question. And I hope that there's a vigorous reason as to why the DA decided to go this route rather than a harsher charge, because frankly, dear brother, a person can get a conviction on involuntary manslaughter and serve no jail time. We see it happen all the time. All right, okay, we'll bring you updates as they come naturally. We'll see if a plea deal happens before trial comes.